Now, so what is 0.875 as a percentage, let's say? What is that as a percentage? Well, what I want you to notice is how to go from a decimal to a percent. So if we look at our list of decimals that we understand, how do we get from 0.50 to 50%? To get from here to here, from a decimal to a percentage, decimal to percent, we take the decimal point and we go over 1, 2 spaces to the right. Do you see that? And then we get 50%. We write into percentage, right? How do you turn 0.25 into a percentage, 25%? How do you do that? You take the decimal point and move it 1, 2 spaces to the right, put it here, and now you have 25%. See that? So how do you turn 0.75 into a percentage? Take the decimal point, move it 1, 2 spaces to the right, see that? And then you have 75%. So let me ask you this, how do you turn 0.78 into a percentage? Write that down real quick. 0.78 is a percentage. Take the decimal point, move it over 1, 2 spaces to the right, now you have 78%, right? How about 0.12 as a percentage? Take the decimal point, move it over 1, 2 spaces to the right, now you have 12%. How about 0.03 as a percentage? Take the decimal point, move it over 1, 2 spaces to the right, and we have 3%, right? And that's the same. How about 0.625 as a percentage? You take the decimal point, move it over 1, 2 spaces, and you stop there, in between the 2 and the 5, so it's 62.5%. Okay? Does that make sense? So we're moving 2 spaces to the right. So in any case, we take the decimal point, go 1, 2 spaces to the right, and we have 87.5%. Okay? And that's that. So what we would like to know is actually how do we convert this decimal to a fraction? So what we've done here is, and we'll just do a little heading, this would be going from a decimal to a percent, wouldn't it? Decimal to percent, right? That was skipping 2 spaces to the right. Well, what we want to look at right now is going from a decimal to a fraction. Okay? Let's look at that. Well, let's go back to the ones we understand. The half, the quarter, the 3/4. Okay? How would I get from a half to 0.5? Or, well, sorry, how the other way around. How would I get from 0.5 to a half? 0.25 to a quarter? 0.75 to 3/4? Okay? Let's start with 0.5 to a half. Okay? 0.5 is, as we know, a half. But it is 5/10. Did you know that? 5/10, because we've got whole numbers, decimal point, then tenths. This is the 10th spot, right? Now, can you put that fraction in lowest terms? 5 to 5 goes once, 5 to 10 goes twice, and that is 1/2, right? How about 0.25? We know it's a quarter, but how can we convert it directly from 0.25? 0.25? That is 2/10 and 5/100ths, or 25 hundredths. Did you know that? Can you put that in lowest terms? 25 into 25 goes once. 25 into 100 goes 4 times, and that's how we get 1/4. Okay, so that makes sense, right? They're the ones we understand. Let me give you one practice one before we move on. Can you convert 0.45 into a fraction in lowest terms? Right, as a fraction, something over, what have we got, tenths or hundredths here? Hundredths, right? Something over 100, and then convert it to a fraction by putting it in lowest terms. So 45 over 100. 5 into 45 goes 9 times. 5 into 10 goes twice. 5 into 0 goes 0 times. 9 over 20, right? So this is converting decimal to fraction. Decimal to fraction. That's how we do it. You gotta write it as a fraction and then put it in lowest terms. This one, 0.875, is fun because 0.875, we don't have hundredths here, by the way, or tenths. These are tenths, hundredths, but all the way out here are thousandths. So we actually have 875 thousandths. Did you know that? So that is converting the decimal to a fraction. And it is a fraction, but it's not in lowest terms. We like it to be in lowest terms. So we're going to have to do some cross-cancelling. This number ends in a 5. This ends in a 0. So I know that 5 goes into both numbers. I'm going to go 5 into 8 goes 1 time. See that? What's the remainder? The remainder is 3. I'll put the 3 here. Let me make that more clear. I'm going to put the 3 here. And now we have 37. 5 into 37 goes how many times? 7 times. Remainder 2. What's 5 into 25? This is 25 now. 5 into 25? 5 times. Okay. So I've divided the top by 5. I'll divide the bottom by 5 now. 5, and just what's this? 5 into 1 won't go, but 5 into 10? What's 5 into 10? 5 into 10 goes twice. 5 into 0 goes 0 times. 5 into 0 goes 0 times. So this ends up being 175 out of 200. Okay? And is this in lowest terms? No, because this ends in a 5, this ends in a 0. We can still put 5 into the top and bottom. Or, if you like your 25s, you can do 25. I'm just going to do 5, just in case you don't like using 25s. 5 into 17, 5 into 1 won't go, but 5 into 17, 5 into 17 goes 3 times. Remainder 2. 5 into 25 goes 5 times. 5 into 2 won't go. 5 into 20. What's 5 into 20? 4. And 5 into 0, 0. So we get 35 over 40. Is that in lowest terms? Is that in lowest terms? Not yet, right? So can you put that in lowest terms? Divide by 5 once again. 5 into 35, 7 times. 5 into 40, 8 times. The answer is 7/8. So this whole thing, we convert it to a fraction with thousandths. We put it in lowest terms, we end up with 7/8. And you keep going until you have the whole thing in lowest terms. So this is a fraction, 7 over 8.